Hello, dear ones. It's so good to see you again. Have you got your pot of tea or your little cuppy? Hello, Sally. Hello, Screaming Dragon. We had no thunderstorms here. But then again, I haven't been here for more than a minute. Darlings, I have to catch you up on all the things. All right. It's so good to see you all, even though I can't see you, but I'm imagining that you're there and you can see me. So let's pretend. I've got my nightcap on as usual. I hope that you are wearing something scrumptious, comfortable, beautiful, and eccentric yourselves. As you can see, tonight we are back to space opera. Woohoo! I thought I had lost it, but apparently it was just in my luggage from an old trip and I hadn't gotten back yet. So, as usual, it's time for me to climb into bed. And I pulled a muscle in my groin this weekend, so this should be fun. Oh, hello, Johnny O Twitch. All right. Oh my god, it actually hurts more than I expected. Could you hold this for me, please? While I nearly destroy everything that is precious and important to me in the material plane. Nailed it. Hello again, dear ones. Woo. Woo. I think that's what we're into tonight. I think I'm going to be a little farther back than usual, if that's all right. All right. I can see you. All right, so here we are. Let's spill some tea. Like, not spill it like I did last time, but like spill. I have a whole pot next to me. I'm running on adrenaline. Thank you so much. Yes, do you want to know what I did today? Here's what I did today. I just got back. I just got back from being on the road. True GlamourHobo style. I left last Wednesday and I just got back literally minutes ago. I took a shower. I smell nice. This will be the third layer of makeup I have to take off when we wrap tonight. But I went to do some ancestral remediation and some friend visiting and some furniture delivering and some pierogi eating and some GlamourHoboing. I had a lovely time. So I went to Columbus, Ohio, and I went to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then I went to Uniontown, just outside of Uniontown, to the historic Summit Inn. And then I went to Falling Waters, the Frank Lloyd Wright House, and then I drove home. So it's been a lot. I just realized I'm not wearing lipstick, and I don't even know if I'm a human if I'm not wearing lipstick. I'm so sorry. I need to apologize to you all for not wearing lipstick. I feel like I should put on lipstick. What do you think? Drop it in the chat. Should I bother to get up and put on lipstick, or shall we just be... Is the eyebrows and the eyeliner enough? So yes, I went to Columbus, Ohio. Not a fan of the city in general, but I did find a great little bookshop where I bought some Jung. Thank you, Reverend Tommy. And I wrote, no, I didn't write Man's Quest for Meaning. I bought a copy of Man's Quest for Meaning by Carl Jung, who's a total fucking wizard, by the way. And a present for Madame Onsa. Shh, don't spoil it. It's a big book about tarot. And a lot of postcards. So those of you who are patrons of mine will be getting postcards from my adventures this week, which is very exciting. And if you're not a patron, consider becoming one and supporting the GlamourHobo life. Joining the GlamourHobo Nation. But I had some really wonderful days, and then I had like one really fucking hard day. And it was a hard day because it was coming face to face with people who'd known me since I was very young. And we are all different people. I hadn't seen them in a long time. They hadn't seen me, and it just felt so wrong, like so disconnected. They didn't ask me anything about what I was doing or what I was up to. There was a lot of talking and not a lot of talking around the dinner table. And like, fair enough, it was mixed company from a woman in her 90s all the way to children in their, you know, I don't know, children, 2-year-olds. But it felt like I shouldn't be there. It felt so incorrect. So I fled as fast as I could. And thank you, everyone, for voting on me not needing to wear lipstick this evening. Appreciate you. Let's say it's a Brigitte Bardot look. All natural. Hi, Mab. Thank you, Jovar Chu. Johnny Richards says, I'm not wearing any beauty makes you comfortable. I I am more comfortable wearing lipstick, but I've already gotten into bed, and we know what a trial it is for me to get into this bed. So I feel like let's not tempt fate. So I yeah, I just fled. I was so like, oh, it feels so wrong. And I fled into the arms of my friend, and she and I had a bonfire out at her house under the stars, and it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful to just see a friend I hadn't seen in years. She's very good at giving hugs, and like she has these skulls in her they're stone skulls in her bonfire pit to keep the wood from getting too low. It's so smart, and it looks amazing when they're burning, it's like burning skulls. um so I left. I spent the day with my mother, who I hadn't seen in literal years, like 3 years, not just because of COVID, but because of stuff. And that went fine. But these fucking people, ugh. Anyways, so I left, and I had a GlamourHobo moment, and I saw a sign on the side of the road and was like, Great Earth Circle. I want to do that. Immediately cut the wheel, pulled off the highway, and found us a roadside attraction that was a super cool. 2,000 years ago, the Hopewell native tribe built this enormous earthwork. It's an enormous complex of circles. Most of them have been destroyed because colonialism. But the great one that's still intact is 1,200 feet wide. 1,200 feet wide, and it's like a 10-foot hill, and it's a perfect circle. And there are trees growing in it now because it's so old. It's so cool. It is so, so cool. So I went and laid down in the middle of it, and that was super, super cool. And I made my way to Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh, I got to hang out with my queerdo chosen family people and my theater people. I got to go to a record store, and I always end up buying records when I'm traveling. I don't know why. It makes no sense, because traveling with a vinyl record is dangerous and delicate. You can't leave them in a hot car. um but that is what I did. So I went to a place called Jerry's Records in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood, and I just had a blast. It was like, it's floor to ceiling, huge room after room of just like vinyl, used vinyl and new vinyl. And I was just like so happy. And I ended up buying a record of traditional Maori music, chanting and singing. Super excited about that. And a vinyl collection of field recordings from music from all over the world that was collected in 1920. Aces. So, so cool. Um, so I haven't even gotten them out of my car yet, dear ones. Like that is how much I like just got home and just put myself together. Um, and so I left Pittsburgh to go up to the summit. Let me tell you something about the summit. The historic Summit Inn is at the top of a mountain. It was built in 1902. It was one of those like health resort places. My grandmother and grandfather met up there, and there's like a lot of history that started up there. And we were having a memorial service for one of my grandmother's sister who died during COVID, not of COVID, but during COVID. She was old, like 90s. And a lot of the like most of the family was there, and it was wonderful because the place had this old world charm. It smelled a little moldy, I'll be honest, but like it looked out over the town of Uniontown, and the air was super fresh, and the pool was really nice. So nice, in fact, that in the middle of the night, I was alone next to the pool. I knew I wasn't supposed to be there, but the hotel is short staffed, and I just figured no one will bother me if I'm not making a ruckus. And this guy, Joe, comes out and he starts talking to me, and I'm like, "Hey, Joe, are you the night guard?" And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "I gotta be honest. I'm thinking about jumping in this pool with all my clothes on." And he said, "Would you like me to get you a towel?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And I just dropped my bag and my shoes and immediately dove into this pool. And it was 11 o'clock at night, and I was wearing like satin wide leg pants and a silk shirt, and like I just, and socks. My socks were still on. Oh my God. My hair is still wet, I think, from being in that pool. But like it was so wonderful because I'm on top of a mountain. I'm in a pool that's warm. No one else is there. The stars are out. It's a new moon. So there's no light pollution. It was so nice. It was so, so nice. And he just wandered off for about 10 minutes and came back with a towel. It was great. Um, they in the bottom floor. Yeah, we all love Joe. In the bottom floor of the hotel, they have something called the Baron Munchausen room. What? Why? I don't know. I cannot explain, but it's like low ceilinged, and they have this really out of tune piano down there. The other two pianos that they have upstairs are locked shut, so I couldn't like make any noise on them, sadly. My grandfather used to be the piano player at the historic Summit Hotel. So I was hoping to play on one of their pianos and like have a minute, and I was really disappointed. But then I found the Baron Munchausen room. Again, I don't know why they call it that, but the walls are painted red. There's a bunch of like tumbly wumbly rooms, kind of like a rabbit's warren. They all have windows between them that are like colored glass, diamond shaped, like leaded glass that are irregular, and like dark wood detail, like panel details on all of the things, and a giant stone fireplace and a little stage and this weird little piano. And Joe tells me that is where they would have the dances. They would have the dances in the Baron Munchausen room, not upstairs where in the grand, like in the room that I thought that they would have them. They had them down there, which means that is where my grandparents met, where my grandfather played the piano, probably that fucking piano in the 40s because it was old. Old. Probably hadn't been tuned since he was there playing it. And my grandma and her sisters would go up there to dance. Like, it was fizzy, y'all. It was fizzy. It was a really like the I'm sure the hotel would be considered haunted, but like I was discussing this with Joe, that haunted has a negative connotation to it, but like there's just this like really positive vibe. Its air is cleaner, it's more relaxed, and it's just got this fizz. So the fizz was definitely there. Definitely there. So in reply to Johnny O Twitch, he says only one glamour hobo. I am a glamour hobo, but I believe that we are a glamour hobo nation. Anyone who travels for work that's glamorous is a glamour hobo. Glamour hobo nation. I'm having pins made, by the way, enamel pins. So I have this wonderful time. I eat good food. I connect with my family, my actual bloodline, maternal bloodline family in a way I've never spoken to them before. I've never connected with them before. It's great. I'm surprised. I'm charmed. I continue to fall in love with Pittsburgh a little bit every time I go. I really do like it. I did live there for a year. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you about the confluence. Guys, I think that tonight's show is just me telling y'all about where I've been for the last 5 days. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you about the confluence. So I'll get to Falling Waters in a minute. Like this whole week was about water. Swimming and falling water and rivers and fountains. It was a whole thing. Okay, let me back up. Pittsburgh. As you may know, Pittsburgh is on a point of land that meets 3 rivers together, the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the Ohio. P.S. If you follow me on TikTok, I made a video about this. So there's 3 rivers. And it's really pretty. And I lived there for a year when I was 18. I went to college there. I never went to this park. Never, never, never. Recently, and by recently I mean 3 days ago, I was told there is a 4th river. An aquifer, or a river, they're unclear, that runs beneath the bedrock of the other 3 rivers. And when the city drilled down at that point of land where those 3 rivers meet to do some surveying or something, they popped the cork on that aquifer and it came shooting up so powerfully that they realized, oh my God, we actually cannot handle this because it is geologically extremely delicate and will crumble if we try to pump the water out of it or use it for something else or blah, 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 blah. So they turned it into a fountain. So there is a fountain at the point with the other 3 rivers, and the fountain is fed by that underground aquifer. 4 bodies of water in one place. And they call it the confluence. And I don't know about you, darlings, but confluence is a word that doesn't get enough play. I certainly use it a lot. I refer to confluence of events. But when my dear friend Brett Sullivan Santry told me to go to the confluence, I dropped my plans and I went. And it does feel very fizzy. It feels big. It feels very big. But it was a Saturday afternoon in Pittsburgh on a sunny day, so it was also really like public park annoying, full of people. So I had a fizzy time there. The fountain was built in the 70s because that's when it was that's when they were developing the park. It was Fort Duquesne that was built by the French in the 18th century, and they abandoned it 4 years later and they burned it down so the British couldn't take it and use it. And then the city used it as a brownfield site, as a dumping site for the steel mills. And then in the 70s, they transformed the brownfield site into a park. And that's when they found it. Excuse me. Okay, then I went to Uniontown and to the summit. Oh, that's so cool. You were there in 1966. Then I leave the summit and I find one of my relatives goes, "Oh, we're going to Falling Waters." And I'm like, "Isn't that in New York?" "No, darlings. Falling Waters is 10 miles away from the historic Summit Inn." What? If you've ever been to Falling Waters, just drop it in the chat. I didn't know. I'm not like a mid-century modern person. I like, as you may have noticed, my style is a bit more eccentric and large. Um, but I was curious. I was like, I can't not go. Apparently, you cannot book an inside the house tour for love of money, but you can wander around the grounds. So I drove my ass to the Falling Waters, 10 miles away from where I was, and I walked my butt around their yard. Essentially, it feels like you're on a hike in a national park, but it's the Kaufman family's yard. They don't live there anymore. They haven't lived there since the 60s. It's been a museum since they died in the 60s. And it's really cool, but it's also kind of like moldy and full of mosquitoes because there's a bunch of standing water. But I thought it was really cool, and I felt a little voyeuristic because they're like fancy rich people, and I felt like I was wandering around like looking at fancy rich people's houses, like those people in California who have the tours that are like, and over here this is Michael Jackson's house, and over here this is Michael Jordan's house, and over here that's Kim Kardashian's house, like whatever. Like they just like wander around like pointing at rich people's ostentatious versions of wealth. um So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just be like a paparazzi. I'm just like lurking around the yard of this like rich, famous house. Um, Screaming Dragon has taken the tour. Sally hasn't been inside, but has been around it. So you lurked like I lurked. Like I learned stuff. There's docents everywhere. So if you're like, hey, why are these light fixtures this shape? The docent will tell you. Um, but like you can walk around on the patios. Like it's fine. So I think one of the coolest things about it, this is adorable. One of the coolest things about it is that on the higher level, where the garage and the servants' quarters were, is the pool, and the pool is fed by a natural spring, so it's comes right out of the earth. It's very cold, and then it drains into the river next to the house down the hill. And in an unchlorinated pool, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But it's not agitated by anybody swimming or by a fountain or like an agitator. So it's bright green from algae, and it's 6 feet deep. It's a poured cement, like it's probably like 20 feet by 12 feet wide. It's bright green, like jade green. And I'm wearing a green dress. Again, refer to my TikTok and my Instagram. It's the same color as my dress, and I'm just charmed by this. And so I say to one of the docents, her name is Rhonda. We love Rhonda because she told me a bunch of goss about the house and everything too. That I was like, well, I'm not complaining that it's green. I think it's great. And she goes, well, we like to keep it that color for the frog. We call him Frogloid, right? They have a pet frog that lives on the property, and its name is Frog Lloyd Wright. What? So perfect. Um so if you get to go to Falling Waters, perhaps you'll love it, perhaps you don't care very much, but I did have a good time considering I walked in with absolutely no expectations, no real information about the house. And then you get beautiful things like Rhonda telling you there's a wild animal on the premises that lives in the green pond, in the green pool, called Frogloid Wright. Like, best day ever. um so And then I drove home. I tried to go to the Pawpaw Tunnel on my way home, but I just didn't have the steam in me. I just didn't have it. So here I am. I'm with you, and now it's 10:30, and I've just been like gushing stories at you, and like with no pause, no art. I have to admit, I have like not structured the telling of any of these tales in a way that is good for storytelling, but I do hope it's engaging for all of you. Um, Fucking Frog Lloyd Wright. I cannot even. It makes me so happy. But all of that is to say, what I have been doing for the last 5 days now is talking. When I'm not alone in my vehicle listening to my Oya playlist. Okay. Bad news, everybody. There is a very large bug that I have to do something about right now. But I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna deal with it yet. Oh, good. He's coming towards me. Alrighty, everybody. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. It's large enough to wear my lipstick. I'll tell you that. You cannot live here. You do not pay rent. And I don't have any spiders in here big enough to kill you. I let the spiders stay if they pay their rent by eating the bugs. I'm going to have to deal with this, or attempt to. Damn it. In case you were wondering, when you live in Virginia in the summer, you get wood roaches. So talk amongst yourself. You should play some sort of music. I don't know if it'll matter. What do you guys want to listen to? This will only take a minute. There'll be a lot of swearing. I'm going to be off camera, but you're going to hear me fighting it. I might need a sword in order to do something about it. I'm going to play you. This is going to be a little janky, but I am going to play you the first track off of my Oya playlist, which is what I listen to when I travel. First, we take off the microphone, which is all the way inside of my dress. What the hell? How do you guys deal with me every week? Just so you know, this is what the inside of my dress sounds like. I lost the screen. Oh my god. Okay. The bug may have been the thing moving my bookmark. That's actually possible. All right, I'm gonna leave you with music, and I'll be right back. Listen for the cussing. I don't know if the quality of any of what you heard from the playing off of my phone was good enough, but yes, so yeah, oh yeah, it's by a band called Ibeyi, Ibey. And that song was just about to change into something a little bit more like synthy and heavy drums. Anyways, the giant bug is still in my room. It's skittered away, but at least it's not on the ceiling because they have a habit of being super dumb and climbing over the ceiling and then falling on you in the middle of the night. That is a problem for 2 a.m, Carmel, not 10:37 at night, Carmel. So yes, that's my Oya playlist, or the beginning of it. It's a song about the Orisha Oya, who was in charge of the wind and storms. She was super badass, is a super badass. I recommend you reading Lilith Dorsey's book about, it's called Orishas, Warrior Queens and Goddesses. Orishas, Goddesses, and Warrior Queens. It's about the African diaspora traditions. It's pretty awesome. All right, should we read a book? We're here. I have this pot of tea. What a day, y'all. So really the lessons of all of this are, sometimes you do just need to give yourself enough time to heal and forgive and have a buffer zone between yourself and blood relations when things get weird or bad. Sometimes those wounds never heal. But for me, it was time to start actively pursuing reconciliation and remediation and doing some work for the dead and the people who've passed before. Yes, I do. I have a nightstand, but it's over here. It's out of reach. I have very short arms. Thank you for noticing. So sometimes you just need to take the time that you need to heal. And sometimes the healing time will never come around. Sometimes you just need to stay away from people who are bad for you, no matter if they're your blood relations or not. Chosen family is as strong a bond if you make it so. I also went to Pittsburgh and forgot to buy my favorite kind of gin, which they only sell in Pittsburgh. So that's the second lesson, is don't forget to get the thing you can only get in the one place when you're in the place. Edna Mode. I don't get it. If you're wondering what the best gin in America is, in my opinion, it's by a company called Wiggle Distillery, Wiggle Distilling, Wigle, out of Pittsburgh, and they have something called Giniver. It's a Dutch style gin. It is so good. It's so good because it's all floral botanicals, not juniper-y. Okay. Yes, I know Edna Mode is from The Incredibles, but I don't. Is this a Chosen Family reference? Because Edna Mode chose them to be her family because she was an ace queen? I have questions. Shall we read some of this book? Where did we stop? It's been so long. I think we explained that wormholes are actually large cows that sleep in the space-time continuum, if I'm not mistaken. Chapter 12, come on, I'll give you a flower. No, we did that one because that was how the spaceship got born. A moment later, all three of them, plus the one white cat, ceased. Okay, this is important. They've just left their home. They've reunited. Wirt St. Ultraviolet and Decibel Jones, who have not spoken in years. So Ort and his white cat and Dustle Jones have just joined the giant blue space creature flamingo up on their main ship. Chapter 13. Everything has rhythm. The question has never been, can you build cities? Ants do that. The question has never been, are you capable of considering your own existence and getting kind of depressed about it? Any animal in captivity does that. The question has never been, can you use tools? Crows do that. Otters do that. Apes do that. Good Lord, everybody does that. The question has never been, can you perform complex problem solving? Dogs do that. The question has never been, can you experience love? Nobody doesn't. The question has never been, can you use language? Parrots and dolphins and cuttlefish do that. The question has never been, do you understand object permanence? Can you recognize yourself in the mirror? Do you bury your dead? Do you bond emotionally with your young? Elephants do all those things, and some humans definitely don't. The only question is this. Do you have enough empathy and yearning and desperation to connect to others outside yourself and scream into the void in four-part harmony? Enough brain power to find motor control and aesthetic ideation to look at feathers and stones and stuff that comes out of a worm's more unpleasant holes and see gowns, veils, platform heels? Enough sheer style and excess energy to do something that provides no direct material benefit to your personal survival, that might even mark you out from the pack as shiny, glittery prey, to do it for no other reason than it rocks? Everything in the universe has rhythm. Everything pulses to a beat laid down by the Big Bang. Everything feels the drumline of creation from star to sex to song. But can you make that rhythm? In order to create a pop band, the whole apparatus of civilization must be up and running and tapping its toe to the beat. Electricity, poetry, mathematics, sound amplification, textiles, arena architecture, efficient mimetic exchange, dramaturgy, industry, marketing, the bureaucratic classes, cultural critics, audiovisual transmission, special effects, music theory, symbology, metaphor, transportation, banking, enough leisure and excess calories to do anything beyond hunt. All of it. Everything. Can everyone else trust that if you must declare war and wipe out half a quadrant, you'll at least write a sad song about it? Yes? Well, that is not quite enough. Are you kind enough on your little planet not to shut that rhythm down? Not to crush underfoot the singers of songs and tellers of tales and wearers of silk? Because it's monsters who do that, who extinguish art, who burn books, who ban music, who yell at anyone with ears to turn off that racket, who cannot see outside themselves clearly enough to sing their truth to the heavens. Do you have enough goodness in your world to let the music play? Do you have soul? The next section is called Air. Go sing it like a hummingbird, the greatest anthem ever heard. That's from Heroes by Mans Zemeldo, a former Eurovision winner. Again, darlings, I didn't say it before, but here we are. My name is Carmel. I am your GlamourHobo bedtime tale teller this evening and every Monday at 10 p.m. Sometimes I take up half the show telling personal stories about adventures I've been on. Sometimes I sing songs. We always drink something tasty, wear something fabulous and eccentric, and read something delicious. And tonight, that's Space Opera by Catherynne M. Valente. Quick reminder, the people that we're talking about from the old band are Mira, Ort, and Decibel Jones. Mira is dead. Chapter 14. Vampires Are Alive. Mira and Ort were wrong, by the way, on the night they met Decibel Jones and discussed the nature of extraterrestrial culture and determined the course of their entire lives via scoops of pistachio, coconut, and mango gelato. There are shy, nerdy predator scientists. The things of Thing World will very occasionally venture beyond the opportunities afforded to them by 24/7 slaughter parties and exploding blood. Scorpions do go to the moon. Take, for example, the Yurtmak of planet Yint, a deranged gutterball of gas jungles and carnivorous rivers hurtling through the beer bottle-strewn lanes of the gravitational bowling alley that is the septuple star system New Scorpii. Improbably, the body of an adult Yurtmak is basically the same as humans, if slightly snailier color and capable of producing a pernicious pheromone from its nipples that has an effect on the IQ of any foreign visitor, similar to the effect of a folding chair on a professional wrestler. Unfortunately for us all, they also have heads. The head of a Yurtmak can best be described as what you would get if a hippo mated with a chainsaw and produced something you wouldn't let into public school even with a hat on, who then went on to have an unhappy affair with a spiny pufferfish, whereupon, at the height of a particularly pustulant turgid puberty, the resulting grandchild's face exploded. The Yurtmak are obligate carnivores for whom murder occupies the same cultural space as football does for humans in the World Cup year, complete with merchandising, celebrity players followed by hordes of fans, and families gathering on a Sunday to bond over the spectacle, maybe hitting the backyard to show off a few trick shots for the kids. Yet the famed philosopher and beloved children's author Gogunar Gorkanen was Yurtmak. Even as a juvenile, her carnage was workmanlike and derivative at best, leaving her outcast, underemployed, and unpopular with men of her peer group. Despite the best efforts of modern Yint-wide dating surfaces, Gogunar took this reasonably well for a Yurtmak. Carefully avoiding major organs, she fondly stabbed her mother and father goodbye and vanished into the wilderness. Eventually, she settled down, built herself a traditional heart valve hut in the depths of the floro-chloral forest of Ylir, and buckled down to invent a way, any way, to get off that rock fully of socially challenged chainsaw-faced hooligans. I think I've read this chapter. I might be wrong, though. No, I didn't. That is what Mira and Urt forgot, having been, if not popular, always cool. No matter how mad, bad, and dangerous to know the civilization gets, unto every generation are born the lonely and the uncool, destined to forever stare into the candy store window of their culture, and loneliness is the mother of ascension. Only the uncool have the requisite alone time to advance their species. And so it was that eventually, between drawing meat ship schematics in the dirt and dreaming of a world where she didn't hate literally everyone, the shyest and most sensitive of Yurtmak began to plan the most ambitious massacre in the history of the galaxy. The murder of stupidity. The fateful weapon? a large print, mildly venomous picture book for which the general galactic population feels a level of affection and tender attachment that falls somewhere between Newton's Principia Mathematica and Goodnight Moon. Goggonar Gorkanon's Unkillable Facts contains 99.9% pure, reliable, and comprehensive laws of the universe as observed by an underachieving, socially anxious mutant murder hippo, and is considered to be as essential to a healthy, balanced childhood as hugs, nightlights, and cellular division. It is nearly impossible to forget one of Goggonar Gorkanon's unkillable facts. The gently envenomated pages produce flashes of temporary but breathtakingly colorful pain as you turn them, so that the simple, heartfelt prose is charred into the reader's sense memory with incredible efficiency. This is Goggonnar's second general unkillable fact. For everything that exists somewhere in the universe, there is a creature that eats it, breathes it, fucks it, wears it, secretes, perspires, exhales, or exceeds it. If you want to argue with me on this, consider the brick-breathing beast of Balin 4 and shut your cake hole. You have already heard the first general fact. Life is beautiful and life is stupid. It goes on to add, you can only ever fix one of these at a time, and wouldn't it be nice if everyone could agree on which one is the bigger problem? Given her sales numbers, Goggonar Gorkanon, Assassin of Ignorance, is, to this day, idealized among the Yurtmak throughout the 7 slaloming stars of New Scorpii system as the greatest serial killer to ever play the game. Perhaps, if humans had been able to read Goggonar Gorkanon's and the first general as a bedtime story like everybody else, they wouldn't have had such a terribly tough time figuring out the whole trick with interstellar spaceships. Chapter 15. The ship is leaving tonight. Ooh, this is the description of the spaceship. All right, last chapter for the night. Chapter 15. The ship is leaving tonight. Every civilization comes to the creation of an iconic ship design in their own way and in their own time, just as methodically and tenderly as a planet comes to the configuration of its favorite species. It simply cannot be rushed, and once arrived at, is rarely abandoned. Ask any child to draw a house, and though there may be variations in chimney placement or door shape, it will be recognizable to anyone with as many limbs and lobes as that child as a house. A ship, lovingly crafted by the gravity, raw materials, anatomical pluses and minuses, architectural traditions, and function to fabulous score of its species, at the time of mass driver invention is no less cozy and relaxing than the drawings of a house made by the innocent hands of untraumatized juveniles. It is therefore entirely impossible to mistake one world's fleet for another's. No matter how tactfully advantageous such camouflage might be, it just isn't comfy. So why make things more unpleasant for everyone? One would never confuse the soft, stacked bubbles of the Alunizar Tuft chip for a single hollowed-out moon gem of the Utarak octahedron sloop, or the living wicker ball of the Keshet chlorofigrate, for the classic silver saucers of the Smaragdi, and no one could ever see an aggressively colorful coral reef floating in space and not know that the Eska had come to town. The one vehicular commonality among all the millions of spacefaring species, past, present, future, and prefer not to state, is that it is easier, cheaper, and more fun to grow than to build. This is what Goguen Gorkanen discovered in the carbonated shadows of the fluorochloro forest of Yelir as she tried to invent a way out of loneliness, and it led to both the impressive horror tonnage of the Yurtmac meat ship and that marvelous second general unkillable fact. For everything that exists somewhere in the universe, there is a creature that eats it, breathes it, fucks it, wears it, secretes, perspires, exhales, and excretes it. Somewhere on Yint, there was a mammal the size of a convention center, stuck taxonomically between a bear and a crocodile, the decomposition of whose fresh corpse produced the exact type of gases necessary, when combined with the electrostatic ion acid sapulure of trees, to propel the entire disgusting mass of itself into orbit. Somewhere on Earth is an insect that excretes a golden antibacterial ooze that also does a splendid job of sweetening your tea. I'm literally drinking that right now. A terribly picturesque tree whose bark will fix your malaria right up, and a large, four-legged, two-horned animal whose reproductive system dispenses ice cream, brie, and buttercream frosting. But somewhere on Bataclic was an invertebrate coral polyp who, when combined with the profit motive of the Ur-Gamma conglomerate research and development bog, could digest a sudden overdose of fat, iron, riboflavin, calcium, and whatever else was unlucky enough to be within roughly 6-meter radius, and crap out a spaceship. And, like overbearing parents pressuring their introverted, artistically inclined children into becoming rich doctors who jump the karaoke queue, the ESCA managed, with a little positive reinforcement and an orgy of gene splicing, to railroad their local bioluminescent moon jellies into inhaling stellar radiation through their translucent bells and exhaling a healthful oxygen-nitrogen mix. Their version of sea cucumbers into ejaculating explosive saltwater plasma at nearby enemies. Their brand of furry brine ship into eating space debris and vomiting defensive shields. Their six-eyed muscles into filtering solar energy and converting it into usable propulsion. Schools of something very like over-emotional clownfish into flushing bright green in the presence of foreign long-range radio waves or working FTL drives, and perhaps, most impressively for the aquatic creature lacking anything like a proper glandular setup, their freshwater starfish into sweating gravity. For an Ur-Gamma conglomerate wearable instant short-range combat shuttle, the trip from Earth to the Moon took approximately the length of time necessary for the Roadrunner to explain all this to her cargo of aging rock stars, look puzzled at their response, and ask, "What do you mean, nothing on your planet excretes spaceships?" The small ambassadorial vessel docked in lunar orbit, loomed up outside a porthole punched through the fluorescent coral wall of what drew closer at planet, and by the time of the question mark, they could see nothing but the massive bulk of the ESCA frigate. In their shuttle was a nice reef in the Maldives. The real interstellar cruise ship was the Great Barrier Reef, touched by the drunken god of space, time, and saltwater aquariums. High above the dark side of the moon floated a hyper-colored goulash of coral only slightly smaller than Sardinia, studded with all of the above. The unfiltered light of Earth's familiar yellow sun sparkled on the electric blue and sizzled pink bells of jellyfish who had clearly cleaned their plates at every supper. They were absolutely massive, encasing the entire reef ship in a protective barrier of neon neogelistic skin. Meso mesogleistic skin, their tentacles clustering beneath the craft like a sloppy Christmas bow, ready and eager to dock with any vessel secreting a friendly venom formulation. On the starboard flank of the ship, in pristine, enormous English letters, a swarm of phosphorescent sea worms spelled out the name of the great Eska interstellar ship. Cake in the Rain. The Roadrunner trilled joyfully at the distinct tones of a movie trailer voice. Look, friends, it's not such a big, scary galaxy out for blood. We respect your primitive culture so deeply that we have named an entire reef ship in your honor. You see, even if the song of your people falls flat, we will carry on the best of you into the universe's into the promising future. Oish. Ort Saint Ultraviolet took a breath to say something about the utter and complete nonsense of the entire London Aquarian, hanging out on the unfashionable end of the moon, with the most rubbish lyric in history blinking on and off on its side like a broken pub sign, and demand, once again, that someone explain the last 20 minutes to him, but slowly this time, and with short words. But before he could turn that breath into words, a gulping sound, halfway between a champagne bottle opening and an octopus sucker latching on, popped their ears painfully as the shuttle corked itself into the mothership's mollusk-encrusted cloaca, and the airlock began to equalize the pressure between the two ships. On the wall of the shuttle, the uncorrelated remains of Ort's microwave displayed countdown helpfully in large blue numbers. On the other side of the jelly glass docking hatch, they could see, improbably, impossibly, a hyperactive red panda jumping up and down and waving his paws at them. Ooh, that is, ooh, said the blue flamingo. He is our mandatory cachet and my extremely best friend. You will probably like him better than you like me. Everybody does. I accept that. That actually reminds me, Mab, of Wedgie. He is my extremely best friend. The microwave numbers ticked down slowly. There was nothing to do but wait until the next insanity rushed in with the airflow. Decibel tapped his foot awkwardly. You look great, Ort. Well, still teaching? I have 2 kids, you ass. You couldn't ever really get mad at Des. He didn't mean anything by not being able to retain information that didn't concern himself, music, sex, movies, or, bizarrely, Ort had found one night on the tour to Dublin, 19th century literature for more than about an hour or two. Especially when he smiled sheepishly and dragged that million-watt focus back onto you. That sheepish smile killed him every time. Ort used to find it endearing and even enviable. Decibel Jones always lived in the moment. Omar Kalishkin always lived in the uncertain future. Mira, he supposed, had always lived in her own head and allowed others to visit once in a while, with advance notice, and extreme decontamination protocols. I don't know if they're still here who mentioned that I really need a side table, but here's a good example of that. Whew, refill. All right. Ahem. Rita's lung. Excuse me, babies, said the Roadrunner, in what both of them instantly recognized was the voice of their old manager, Lila Poole. But you gotta supper up before the show. How many times have I told you? I swear, you can lead a punk to stardom, but you can't make 'em eat. Or Bedtime, yes. The Eska held up one of Ort's much-used white lacquered tea trays. I could use that tea tray. The handles of which were now fully colonized by vermilion brain coral. On it lay 3 glass saucers, and on each one of those sat 2 servings of something that looked a lot like very expensive mushroom. Something that looked like squashed licorice allsort from the bottom of the bag, and something that looked like a cappuccino. If the barista had won several prizes for latte art but had the unfortunate seizure while drawing a quadratic equation in your milk foam. This is some hardcore triple X, keep it in the back of the room under a curtain, Alice in Wonderland action is what this is, Decibel Jones said with total delight. Is it lunch? His hand was already halfway to one of the mushrooms. That was the power of Lila Poole's indefatigably upbeat boardroom mum North County voice. Oh, North Country. Oh shit, I've been doing the wrong accent this whole time. If Lila said to do it, it was good for you, good for the band, and probably good for humankind at large. And it had been so long, and a feeling of oceanic calm he hadn't felt in years descended over Decibel Jones. Someone else was taking care of the details. Someone else was handling logistics. Thank Christ. I really, really think we need to have a serious discussion about food allergies before we start eating space allsorts. Ort fretted, but he too was under the spell of their old Lila-fueled agreeableness. Because peanuts are nothing compared to what, I presume, grows on the artisanal asteroid on the underside of the universe. Do you have cats? Do you have cats have MHRA, FDA, anything? Oh my god. Okay, North Country British. Don't whine, kittens. It's not lunch. Think of these as jabs for your Pan-Asian tour. There's your Hep A, there's your Hep B, and there's your typhoid vaccine. I'm trying to do my Chris Eccleston North, but I'm failing so bad at it. Not everybody you'll meet is as conveniently mnemonopathic, oxygen-breathing, and gravitationally compatible as your girl Friday here. The mushroom's actually a dormant fungal agent that will infect your brainstem, and with a pretty laid-back strain of Yumpian encephalitis. Whoa, 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 shouted Des and Ort. They leapt back as though the tea tray were full of spiders and credit card bills. Or in my case, a wood roach. Decibel tried to recover quickly, telling himself that he really ought to have gotten over any squeamishness with regards to alien biological compounds back in Croydon. But it was instinctive, deep as dirt. Take it easy, Jesus Christ, you gotta learn to trust a little. You'd think I'd threaten to wipe out your whole planet. My little joke. They are completely safe, I promise. Look, my whole job is getting you 2 lit toast in one piece and ready to shine. So I wouldn't hurt you for love, nor money, nor socio-political advantage. Friends, Decibel, or lend me your ears. Only speaking languages you've actually learned is sign Only speaking languages you've actually learned is the sign of a healthy mind. Where's the fun in that? Once your cute wee antibodies get a load of Yumpian encephalitis, you'll start working like the rents do tonight. You know how your nose gets all snotty and your throat swells up when you have the flu? Well, turns out, as long as you're carbon-based and keep your brain on the inside, the body's natural The body's natural immune system response to this is to produce a kind of linguistic acid reflux that blows out the bits of your brain that insist on having to conjugate and decline and punctuate things before it can understand them, like cheap subwoofers. Doesn't work on the Yumps, though. Poor sods. They're pretty resentful about it. You haven't seen anything until you've seen potbelly plesiosaurus trying to speed read through 16 local phrase books at once. Woo! You two are now officially allergic to penicillin. That shit clears the infection right up. Right. So, the all sorts are just going to paste in some of Ursula's junk DNA and mutate your lungs into a bit less closed-mindedness when it comes to respiratory partners. And the coffee is just a caffeine jolt to your inner ear with a nice foamy, agile gravity agent so you don't barf, drift off, or explode when we land. Thank the use. It's mostly their toenails. We share up here, you know? Makes it the homier galaxy for everyone. Plus, if you don't open source your assets, we quarantine your planet, and any further attempts to holiday outside your system will be met with big, big cannons. I mean, giant, huge. Still, it's all right, isn't it? A couple of bites of that slurp, and you're ready for anything. It's like Gogunar's fourth general Unkillable Fact says. Everybody's always saying love is the element that binds the universe together, but it's a load of bollocks. It's convenience. All things from evolution to municipal sanitation to marriage to the Big Bang to diplomacy to the distribution of shops and urban centers tend toward the most convenient outcome for the greatest number of lazy bastards, because the inconvenient stuff ends up alone without any friends and a foot growing out of the head, and who has the time? This is disgusting, Wirt said. This is amazing, Des whispered. Much less invasive than Heathrow Customs, anyways. Ort's microwave chimed. Their docking procedures had finished defrosting. A cheerful blue popcorn kernel made an asterisk signaled the completion of the decompression cycle. You know I'd never hurt you. Miria's throaty voice came pouring out of that dark alien beak. Hey, no, you don't have to do that, said Wirt quietly. Do what, baby? Talk like Mira, or Lila, or my dad, or Des's nun, or anyone. Do you not enjoy it? Does it not put you at ease? No. Just be normal. Just be yourself. Just be whatever passes for an ordinary bloke where you're from, like me. See? Decibel can swan about, and, well, if you'd ever met her, Mira could make eyes at you and turn you into jelly in an instant, but I'm just Omar. I like music and football and a laugh, and half the reason the band lasted as long as it did is that I'm so easy to get along with that these two only ever had each other to pick on. It's fine. We don't need to be at ease. This isn't an at ease kind of a gig, and honestly, it's really, really creepy. The bird's fishy eyes narrowed. You don't really like football. I can see it in your cerebral structure. But I want to like it, and that's just as good as it in the end. Just be the roadrunner. Be like me, and when he starts up being Des again, which he will, you and I can go smoke a ciggy together and make fun of his accent. Deal? Deal, Mr. Ultraviolet. The airlock released. A 7-foot-tall blue bird punched a gold-plated starfish, and Decibel Jones and the last of the absolute zeros stepped from obscurity onto the biggest stage in the universe. That is it, my darlings, for this evening's episode of GlamourHobo Bedtime Tales. Again, that was Space Opera by Catherynne M. Valente. I highly recommend that you buy this book from a local seller. I don't even know how to say goodbye. I've been chatting and saying goodbye to people for an entire week. I've barely slept alone. That's not true. If someone wasn't in bed with me, they were very nearby, in the bed next to me, or like, yeah. The point is, I haven't been alone in a minute, and I actually kind of don't know how to be alone right now. I know how to be alone in a car, because that seems to be my natural state. But if I'm honest, I'm not actually alone in this room because that giant wood roach is here somewhere with me. So that's exciting. Darlings, it's been my pleasure and my privilege to be here with you as always on Monday nights at 10 p.m. If you've been nourishing the service, I encourage you to tip your reader via PayPal. But if you want to get into bed with me, if you want to spend a little bit more of a committed time, then please join the Patreon. Like all people, I have a Patreon. Ask Johnny O Twitch about it. He's there. You get things from me on the road. You get postcards. You get little digital postcards from me, little ephemera from my travels. It is always a strange goodbye, but it's time for me to wash my face for the 4th time today. So, after all of my adventures, after all of this time, I am so glad that I got home in time to be with you. And I wish you a glamorous, delicious week until I see you again. Good night, darlings. Good night.